So this is the same with any business. The assets of the business really do most of the work. It's mostly the product. The productivity of the business is mostly...
We talked about 0 to 10K. We've talked about sort of 10 to 100. At what point does the team grow to an unmanageable level? And like what's
12 people.
12.
13 people. So 12 is manageable, 13's not. 13's...
How did you land on that number like this?
It's the Last Supper.
Oddly specific.
Yeah. There's always, there's always this issue that with somehow magically up to 12 people can just hold together. Everyone can just be having one conversation. The 13th person splits it in 2 or 3 teams. Suddenly you've got the sales team and you've got the ops team and you've got the finance team. The 13th person just goes, breaks it all into 3 teams. So up until 12, you're just one team. We're just one family. It's the original crew. And then the 13th person is ruining things for everyone. Then it doesn't get good again until you're about 40 people plus. So when you're about 40 people, you've got what's called an executive team.
Yep.
An executive team is a CEO, Chief Executive Officer, COO, Chief Operations Officer, CFO, Finance, CMO, Marketing, and CTO, Technology. So you've got those as your typical 5 roles for running a bigger business.
Yep.
On top of that, you'll have a non-executive board member, non-executive director board member, and you'll probably have a coach, right, who's kind of or a chairperson.
Yep.
Right, so that'll be your almost 7 people who are running the business, right? So because that's such a big, heavy, weighty team, you need like 35, 40 people all performing with great assets and great technology and great intellectual property and all of that stuff to warrant that team. So the reason that you should stop at about 12 is because once you go past 12, you need leaders and managers and debt and investment and this and that, and there's J-curves are unescapable and like you're now into a grown-up proper business.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to be viable until you get about 40, 50 people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We're at 15, including me.
Yeah. So you're
with a bunch of freelancers that are like some semi-full-time, semi-part-time.
Out of curiosity, have you noticed that the team's starting to fracture off into like sub-teams?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it probably happened around the 13th person. So like some people have got their little gang over here and they're doing their thing, and then
we've got like our money team, we've got our YouTube plus 2 editors team.
Yeah, and I bet they have their own little meetings.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just on the verge. Now it'll be masked in your organization because you're very profitable. You've got a huge IP and media going on. I've seen your videos where you disclose how much revenues and profits you do. So you've got buffer. Most businesses don't have that kind of buffer. You're leveraging media out of this world. But if you are slightly less revenue, it would actually start to be noticeable that, wait a second, the overheads are high and the profit's going down and the teams aren't coordinating themselves very well, and this team's running off on this direction and this one's running east and this one's running west. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do in-person full week-long meetings every 6 weeks to stay connected and aligned and
do you remember back in like 8, 9, 10 people where it just self-organized? Like it just, like we didn't have to do any of this stuff, and everyone, like we had a problem. So what did we do? We ordered Chinese food and everyone sat around a table and we solved the problem by the time we finished dinner.
Yeah-ish.
Hey there, if you're enjoying this content, I know you'll love my live workshop. In my live workshop, we look at differentiation, productization, and putting together game-changing partnerships. It's a really good live workshop. We interact, we do Q&A, so it's a little bit different from content. It's actually more of an interaction. If you would like to come and join me, there'll be a link somewhere below. Now let's get back to this video.
I remember it was like that at 3 people when we were in person, but then when we went to 6 and it became remote and different time zones, and I didn't know anything about running business, so it's just like, So even at about 6 or 7, I bet there were times where you just got on a Zoom call, everyone jumped on the Zoom call, an hour later you'd solve the problem, and everyone was like aware of it. Yeah. And I bet it's really hard to do that now. Yeah, it's really hard to do that now.
Yeah. So you've just entered this like too big to be small, too small to be big. We call this crossing the desert. It's like you're just in this like really frustrating time where you're not a big business, you're not a small business. Yeah. So realistically, you can probably get away with it because you got lots of IP media to leverage. For most people, the smart decision would be just to pull it back to 12 people and just recognize that we're going to grow the assets, we're going to grow the media, we're going to keep doing what we're really great at, we're going to say no to some stuff, but ultimately we're a 12-person business. Or you go, you know what, we're going to build a massive business. We're going to get 5 major YouTubers, each with millions of followers. We're going to create a YouTube cluster, a constellation of YouTube stars, and we're going to have a executive management team, and we're going to bring together a whole bunch of products, and all of the YouTubers are going to pick the products that they want to represent, and we're going to build out these businesses, and it's going to be like 40-50 person team who hit the phones and create opportunities, and the YouTubers create the media cloud cover, and then we've got the sales team.
God, I cannot imagine anything worse than that.
I'm totally excited by it, right? So I would have my executive team and our sales team and our marketing team, and we would basically say, all right, we've now got a collective 20 million followers on socials, and now we've got a dozen products, and we're going to have our product teams and our sales teams, and we're going to really kind of coordinate this thing into a $10 to $100 million business.
Yeah, screw that. That's not the one.
Yeah, because it's grown up, right?
Yeah.
It's boards, it's private equity backing.
Yeah.
It's outside influence. It's outside companies that have to buy in and stay bought in. That's the problem. The problem is right now you can say no to stuff if you want to say no to stuff. Once you get to a certain size, you have investors, you have debt, you have partners, joint venture partners. So you got all these outside influences, and you have to manage expectations. And if you screw that up, they just leave.
Yeah.
And then you've got 50 people overheads, and your business starts to spiral down.
Yep.
So you have to basically be up for that.
So if I'm not up for that, keep it small and manageable. You mentioned assets.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by assets?
So a business ultimately, you talk a lot about productivity. So productivity often is thought about the way humans behave, but actually a huge amount of productivity is actually the underlying assets. So
okay, like a tractor.
Yeah,
okay,
like a tractor, like a
chainsaw.
tractor
is an asset that
so
boosts your productivity.
Yeah, so if I've got a big lumberjack who's got a little axe, and I've got a 17-year-old with a chainsaw who cuts down the tree faster, right? So assets the modern day assets are digital assets. They're either intellectual property, media, or software, typically. And they are things that make everything run really, really well. Now, as a thought experiment, if I had 2 real estate salespeople and both of them optimize their diary, and they're working super hard, and they're get up and do their cold plunge in the morning, and they've got their gadgets and all of that sort of stuff. They have a stand-up walking desk each, right? All of that stuff is super optimized.
Yeah.
But one of them's working in Mayfair and one of them is working in Blackpool.
Okay, yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So who's more productive? It's going to look like the Mayfair salesperson sells hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate each year, and the Blackpool salesperson is lucky to make a couple of million worth of sales each year, because ultimately the underlying assets are very vastly different. So this is the same with any business. The assets of the business really do most of the work. It's mostly the product. The productivity of the business is mostly media, intellectual property, and software.
Media, IP, and software.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. There's other assets too, but those are the big ones these days. Data, they're intangibles. And this is the thing. Most people don't even know what they are now. Here's a thought experiment. A consulting firm is going along for 15 years, and then the top consultant writes a best-selling book. It becomes the top of the business charts, and they start speaking on 4 major conferences per year. What happens to the consulting firm? Boom,
yeah.
Right? So it was the book and the book and the thing. Restaurant, going along for 15 years, wins a Michelin star.
Yeah, bang.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So it's an intangible new asset that has just been awarded. So these are the actual, the really big productivity boosters are assets. It's the underlying assets, IP, media, and tech.